This is video 23 on MicroPython and the second video on LVGL 9 on a Raspberry Pi Pico. In this video, we review 3 examples using button events in LVGL 9. First, we look at the code for a simple button. The second example shows how to use a single event for 2 buttons. The third example shows how we can pass data to an event. For this effort, I'm using the Pico MicroPython display baseboard with the Pico-W USB board, Ili9341 display with touch. The GitHub site contains the firmware for both the Pico and the Pico-W and the code examples. As this channel covers multiple small system solutions over time, please subscribe to stay informed and click like, as that really helps. The code examples: new import called display_driver. This is the display and touch setup definitions pushed into a file on the Pico. This allows us to have concise examples. Let's jump into the code. First, open test_button_display in Thony. And I've already started the program. Our first example is a screen with a button and its callback. Here's the code for the button. Here's its label with the text. And a simple callback is just saying clicked button. We can add this callback function using the button.add_event callback, and we pass it the name of the callback function. We can pass it all events or a specific event. In this case, it's going to trigger when I click a button. And then for the data pointer, we will always pass none. And I'll explain that more in a bit. All right. When I press the button, it's going to send a message to the Thony shell. So let's do that. All right, you can see every time I click on the button, it sends a message, clicked button. So that's pretty simple and straightforward. All right, let's reset for our second example. Please open test_2-button_display. The code defines nearly identical buttons except for the text. Next, the callback function. And here you'll see I have some other code that I'll explain in a second. Finally, we define the events for the button. Notice that each button is using the same callback and is using the same event trigger, which is clicked. The way this works, and let's go ahead and run the program. Okay, on the screen there are 2 buttons. When I press one of the buttons, the information from the event is sent to the callback. And there's a function that we can use to get which object it is, which is called get_target_object. And this gives us the structure of the button that was pressed. Using this, we can get its child, which we know is its label. And then from that object, we can get its text. So let's press button 2, and we should get a message in the shell, clicked button named 2. Let's press the first button. And you can see we get clicked button named 1. All right, that works very well. Just by having a few simple LVGL functions, we can do a very powerful thing and handle multiple buttons with a single event. All right, let's reset and go to the third example. I'll go ahead and start the example. Okay, I've opened up test_button-data_display. This example is very similar to the first, only now I want to pass some data. So in line 52, you can see I have some data I want to pass. In this case, the word open. Currently, the display is showing the word off as defined in this label. So now I've defined this function, okay, and I want to pass data to it. So how do we do that? Normally in the C code, you would pass the name of the function in this third parameter, but we don't do that in MicroPython. Instead, we use a lambda function. So you can see it's very similar to what we were using before. We pass the callback function name, but here we're going to pass it two parameters, E for the event and data, which is the data that we want to pass. And our callback has two parameters, the event and data, which in this case is going to be the word open. When the code runs, it's going to get the event, we'll get the object of the event, which is our button. We'll get its child, which is the label. And now we want to set the contents of the label with the data that we've passed. And I will also print out a message on the console. All right, let's try it. All right, by pressing the button, the data was passed to the callback function, and the callback function in this case used that data to change the label. So that's a very useful feature of LVGL. Well, that's it for these three examples. In summary, we reviewed three examples. First, a simple button and its event. Second, showing how an event can handle multiple buttons. And third, we showed how to pass data to an event. I hope this helps your LVGL coding. Thank you for listening.